Hi there, and welcome to This Day in History for March 28th. March 28th is the 87th day of the year in the Gregorian calendar, 88th in leap years, with 278 days remaining to the end of the year. Today's word is onomatopoeia. Onomatopoeia is the naming of a thing or action by a vocal imitation of the sound associated with it, such as buzz or hiss. Onomatopoeia can be a word formed by onomatopoeia or the use of words whose sound suggests the sense. Onomatopoeia in a sentence might be, the author made good use of onomatopoeia with sounds of the animals and machines coming alive through the text. An example might be, the bee's buzz was so loud it drowned out the sound of the distant lawnmower, or the speeding car zipped past with a whoosh, leaving only a gust of wind in its wake. The word onomatopoeia comes to us through Latin, originally from Greek, words that meant to make a name. And of course, onomatopoeia has been used probably for about as long as people have been speaking. But the first known use of the word onomatopoeia is in about the mid-1500s. Onomatopoeia. And with that, if you've been watching me for a while, you might have heard me talk about history as elegant gossip. This will be a gossipy episode for sure, although I'm not sure exactly how elegant this particular bit of gossipy history will be. Humans being human, I guess. Anyway, in the earliest days of Roman rule, you have Julius Caesar, who became boss of what had been the Roman Republic by declaring himself dictator in perpetuity in the year 44 BC. Wasn't a republic anymore then. He hadn't held that job for a whole year before he was assassinated on March 15th, 44 BC, the Ides of March, as we mentioned back on the 15th when it happened. This event was followed by a civil war, and in 27 BC, Caesar's adopted heir, his nephew Octavian, who later came to be known as Caesar Augustus, obtained his inherited position. It wasn't easy, and certainly not instant, but Caesar Augustus did finally become the first actual emperor of the Roman Empire. Fortunately, he was a decent ruler once he finally got there. The empire flourished under his rule, and an age known as Pax Romana dated from that time. As Caesar Augustus grew older, he selected his adopted son Tiberius to be his heir as the next emperor, and indeed, Tiberius became the second Roman emperor. After his grown son died, Tiberius became really tired of it all and retired to an island, leaving his longtime friend and associate Sejanus in charge, second in command really, but basically running things while Tiberius was away. Unfortunately, Sejanus went a little power mad, maybe a little too ambitious for the good of the empire, and began purging anyone he thought might oppose him, as he had his eye on that big boss position. But just because Tiberius was away, that didn't mean he didn't have any idea of what was going on. He had Sejanus and his co-conspirators tried and executed for treason. Between Sejanus's purges and Tiberius's elimination of Sejanus and his conspirators, there weren't many, if any, viable candidates for succession to the position of emperor left. Tiberius left a will naming his two co-heirs, his grandson Gemellus and his great-nephew Caligula. Caligula, a nickname meaning little boot. He'd acquired that nickname when he was a child, accompanying his father Germanicus on military campaigns. Caligula. We've talked about him before. So, Caligula's great-uncle Tiberius was old and dying, and Caligula was there in Tiberius's last days. As often happens with people in their last days, he wasn't doing well, appeared to have stopped breathing, so those present thought he had died. People began to congratulate Caligula on his succession to the empire, but then Tiberius rallied, as people in their last days will do. Those present panicked, thinking Tiberius would be mad at them for congratulating Caligula, and in the scramble, A Praetorian prefect named Macro took it upon himself to go ahead and finish poor old Tiberius off by smothering him with his bedclothes. This was on March 16th in the year 37 AD. Tiberius was 77 at the time of his passing. So, I mentioned a will, didn't I? The one naming Caligula and Gemellus as Tiberius' equal heirs. The first thing Caligula did was to set about to void that will so that he could get everything and become the sole emperor. And the reason we mention any of this today is that it was on March 28th in the year 37 that Caligula was granted and accepted the titles of the Principate bestowed upon him by the Senate, making him, Caligula, the emperor of the Roman Empire. My goodness, that one got away from me. Let me just say that last year I talked about a word, a couple of beer moguls, W.C. Handy, and a song, and I'll leave a link to that episode for you. All that business about the early days of the Roman Empire, all the cloak and dagger intrigue, and ending up with Caligula. And then I thought, oh boy, what are we going to do for a song today? Immediately popped into my mind Linda Ronstadt's voice singing You're No Good. You're No Good was written by Clint Ballard Jr., and hopefully we can remember to talk about him later in the year when his birthday rolls around. He wrote You're No Good, and it was first performed by Dee Dee Warwick, who happens to have been the sister of Dionne Warwick. That version was released in 1963, and then a singer named Betty Everett released a version also in 1963. Then there was a version by a group called the Swinging Blue Jeans in 1964. Linda Ronstadt began singing You're No Good to close her live shows in early 1973. She did a televised performance of it on a show called The Midnight Special in December of 1973. About this time, she was working on her 5th solo studio album and just happened to need one more song. Peter Asher was the producer on that album, and he loved that song too. Released in November of 1974, Linda's version of You're No Good certainly did hit number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 in February of 1975. What a voice. You're No Good by Linda Ronstadt. Link in the description. Alrighty, thank you so much for watching. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. Feel free to share this video with a link in your email, messaging, or social media. If you enjoy this series, you can check out the playlist that contains these videos. I'll put a link to that in the description. That description lives on YouTube, so for other platforms, I'll include a link to my blog page that's called No Really. You can also find me on Rumble, BitChute, and Odyssey. All those links in that description. Alrighty, that's all I can think of right now. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time. This is the birthday.
I didn't get that. Could you try again?
I wasn't talking to you. Me and my mouth. John, are you kidding me? Okay, hold on. We got to make that be quiet. You got to read the black part. Hi there, and welcome to This Day in History for, where's your microphone? Okay, we don't want to say the same thing twice. Oh, get your microphone. What is it with you and this microphone? Okay, here we go. We are still recording. That's great. Okay. How about that? We'll have a lot to edit today. Cacophony is a sound. Cacophony is a noun that you got to read it the right way. Let's start over. It's 8 o'clock, so all of the reminders are going to be dinging. I forgot to turn those off. Okay, stop it. Don't alienate people who can be helpful to you. Flinging happiness all over the place. Alrighty, back to work. I think we got it this time.